So the good news is that this video will be up on both Rumble and on YouTube in its entirety, because I don't see any reason why the dingleberries at YouTube to find any fault with this video. But then again, I didn't see any reason for them to have issues with drilling and tapping a receiver for a pick rail. Maybe you should follow me on Rumble, just in case. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nobody. We're out front of my house. I got some water boiling and we are going to try to stop the rust that is on this receiver. As you can see that it is underneath the parkerization and is kind of bleeding through, but we want to stop the rust. We also have the rust here on the barrel. And I've been talking to a friend of the channel, Mitch. Mitch, appreciate your feedback. And I asked him if it would be possible if I went ahead and tried to convert the barrels, if it would work. And it might potentially work, but it also may cause the parkerization to separate. And then we're gonna have to refinish everything. So we're gonna go ahead and try boiling it. And if the parkerizing sticks, then we're gonna go ahead and card. If it doesn't, then we're gonna go to plan B. And you know, just for giggles, we might do plan B anyway, just to dress it up. I don't know. Get ready for the dip. I think I'm gonna have to do these at a slight angle. What I got going on here is that this is a 12 by 20 by 6-inch deep pan. And these parts are pretty darn close to that 20-inch, so I'm gonna have to go a little bit like this. Uh-oh. I need more water. Pull that out, let it get to temperature. And then we'll try this again. All right, so the crab boil is back on and my glasses are getting all foggy. So we're gonna let this go ahead and convert, and probably gonna let it run for like an hour or two, maybe two, just to hopefully make sure. So while that's converting, let's go ahead and talk about some of the things that I'm kind of planning on doing on the 870 project, because there are some upgrades that are not just gonna be a slap it on and it'll be fine. It's gonna take a little bit of ingenuity and figuring out. So hopefully nothing too complicated, and hopefully it turns out where it looks pretty decent. And we're not gonna talk about everything that we're gonna do on the 870 project right at this very moment. You know, it's like talking about springs, you know, to increase reliability, stuff that I'm replacing that way, or chamfering something in whatever, maybe porting the barrel. Yeah, we're gonna do that. But let's talk about kind of some aesthetic and functionality things that we're going to do. All right, so one of the first things that you can see, obviously, I got Magpul furniture. We're gonna have Magpul forend and stock. No point in showing you the stock, but I have this here to kind of show you what the barrel portion of the gun is going to kind of look like. Scattergun Technologies extension tube. Man, this thing is beefy, steel. It's really nice. We'll talk more about this and what I had originally planned on doing, but we'll get to that later. This is half of a Mission Tactical barrel clamp. And this is a heat shield. And the thing about this, it's not metal. And I purposely went with this because metal likes to transfer heat, and if you're grabbing onto it and you burn your hands, especially after long strings of fire, that's no fun. So this will make it a little bit more comfortable to do. However, there is an issue with this, and this is kind of like a one size fits all no matter what you do, because it wraps around on the receiver side right here, and then you clamp the barrel out here. Well, because of some fit things and how I want to port the barrel, I want to figure out how to shorten this. So move this back, which is going to require cutting and hopefully some creative epoxying of this back together, and hopefully it doesn't turn out like trash. So, and that's to make room for the barrel, or the barrel porting and the barrel clamp. So I got to figure that out and make that look pretty decent. The other thing that we have to worry about is actually how this fits, because right now they interfere with each other. So there's going to have to be either some type of heating and slight tweaking of the handguard to where it kind of flares out a little bit, or taking material off like that. So that is still yet to be decided on, but it gives you an idea of the direction that we're going. All right, let's go ahead and shut this off. Been going for almost 2 hours now. Well, as close to 2 hours as I possibly can make, because I kept having to add water, because this thing sure does boil the snot out of them. Still see red rust, but I won't know for sure until I actually hit it with the carding wheel. So I don't know if that's just on the surface and once I hit it, they'll come off or whatnot. So I guess we'll figure that out really quick, huh? So apparently I've been talking and working and thinking that thinking that I'm recording, but I haven't been. So I'm using a carding wheel here, and the carding wheel won't destroy your hand. There are 2,500 wires, but you want to keep it moving, because if you just hold in one spot, it will strip it off. But I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be successful with trying this. But it does look like it's kind of better. I mean, it's like you can see kind of where I've stopped right here, and here's the rust. So better, but not perfect or glorious. Now for inside here, you may want to use a hand carding brush. Sure, my arm has been great in the way. Sorry about that. Been kind of focused on whether this is going to turn out worth a crap or not. Not thinking about what you're trying to see. I'm kind of selfish like that. I don't know, guys. All right, so as you can see, I mean, there's still areas that I could go over, but I'm being faced with a couple of decisions here. One, it's almost giving it like a high metallic sheen, and I'm not sure if I really like that. But two, I'm gonna have to boil it for a lot longer to continue converting, because there's still red rust on here, and I haven't done the receiver yet. I'm going to try the carding on the receiver just to see, but I think we're going to have to refinish this. Okay, see that. Let me talk. Actually, this turned out not too shabby. I mean, it's still, I still see a little bit of red. I don't know if you guys can pick that up or not. Like, I haven't done right here, but this is where I did there. I think I'm just battling so much that's just underneath the parkerizing that I don't think I'm really going to win this. Looks like I might have converted some. I mean, I guess I could continue to boil, but in all reality, I mean, I just spent 2 hours of boiling, and there's just so much. It'd almost have like a splotchy two-tone, and it'd almost really be like putting lipstick on a pig. Or is it just because I bought the manganese phosphating solution, I just feel like I have to use it? I don't know. We're just going to say that I want to do a good job and hopefully impress you guys just a little bit, but I think this is going to need to be sandblasted. These two little pawls here on the inside that are usually staked in place, they're actually loose. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these out for blasting and parkerization. This spring that's located right here, I looked for the tool that will take that little swaged pin and kind of like cut it so you can get it out, and so that way the spring is able to be removed. But I have not been able to find one that's in stock, no matter where I go, to PTG, Brownells, Midway. They're all on back order or unavailable. So the fun thing that I am going to do is sandblast this, and then I'm going to try to cover as much of the spring as possible, and hopefully I don't screw it up, you know, from the phosphating. I was hoping to get like some type of tape around it and go that way, but I'm not going to be able to get all of it. So hopefully I don't create a weak point on that. But just know I wanted to do it the right way and remove it. So cut me some slack. Also, what I'm going to do before I do that, one of the things, you know, from one of the earlier videos, or the first video on the 870 project, when I was weak hand loading, I had 4 shells in my hand and I was stuffing the tube. I would get caught up on this lip right here, and just because it's just kind of squared off on the inside. So I think first thing in the morning, before I go and sandblast this, I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of a bevel just to aid in feeding. So, and then it'll get parkerized and looks like I was never in there, hopefully. I'm trying really hard not to crush this tube in the vise. Alright, so I just spent a little bit of time hitting it with a Kratex just to kind of smooth everything out, and allows me to double check my lines and everything. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and hit this with some acetone and bake it in the oven. Try to get as much oil seeping out before I blast it. As for this bead sight, I think I'm just going to leave it during the parkerizing process because a couple of reasons. One, the red dot is not going to co-witness or anything. It's going to be above it, and plus the pick rail is going to be higher to where it's not going to be a super effective aiming solution. So the other thing is that if this is steel, it might look kind of cool as a black sight. And if it doesn't turn out, I can always replace it. They're not that expensive. Okay, to bring you up to speed, I'm currently heating up the manganese phosphate solution, which I got from Brownells. I'm trying this. It was cheaper than the Duracoat solution. The other day, I started doing this process because you got to season it first, and I didn't know how long it was going to take, and it ended up taking longer than I thought, because you get kind of a sludge the first go around, and it's kind of pukey, exorcist kind of quality. Plan on this taking a little bit longer than you would normally think, you know, your first go around, but now that it's hopefully seasoned, it shouldn't take as long and have the same delays that I experienced. Now, on the barrel and on the receiver, I took it over to a buddy's house and started sandblasting it, but I wasn't able to get into certain areas, and I thought, well, I should have listened to Mitch and just used Evaporust. So I went out, got some Evaporust, and it stripped it down. I did have to scrub a couple of little areas, but no big deal. Then I took it back over to my buddy's house this morning, sandblasted it to kind of etch up the surface, and now we are here ready to parkerize. Well, once it gets up to temperature, it's just under 100 degrees right now. Now, I have hot water, or water that's heating up right back here. I have another gutter segment just off camera that is full of WD-40 that I'm going to use to kind of displace the water out of the parkerizing. So hopefully this all works, and I can show you how nice it looks. All right, so I'm up to temp, and I need to stir this. I don't know if I screwed up on this or what, but it seems like I'm getting a lot of this little sludge stuff. I think part of it is how I seasoned it. But we're gonna try this. Okay. So I was able to turn this off because I noticed when I turned it off the other day, it held temperature for a really long time. And I'm going to constantly stir this just so none of the sludge gets stuck on any of the parts and affects the parkerizing. With all these floaties, it's not that exciting viewing, is it? So the mag tube comes down right here. I'm trying to create a little bit of a current that goes through it. Now, I think one of the mistakes that I did when I was seasoning, I used triple-aught steel wool, and after I hit it with acetone to kind of get the oil off, I just put it in. Well, I really didn't think about the fact that triple-aught steel wool is pretty thin, and since parkerizing etches into the metal, well, it's etching into very fine pieces of steel. So I'm kind of wondering if, since I didn't use a coffee filter to contain it, as pieces started to break off and float, if it kind of overjuiced the solution, which may be what is causing all this sludge. I don't know. I didn't have this with the Duracoat. I understand it is a different probably recipe of stuff, but I'm just trying to figure out what is going on. Is this normal and whatnot? And as you guys know, when you're doing stuff like this for the first time, sometimes you make mistakes and you learn from it. You just got to figure out what those mistakes are. So it's been about 4 minutes. Looks like I'm still maybe getting some rumbling here. So we'll go another minute or two. All right, so it's been 6 minutes. All right, so there is the receiver. Now over to WD-40. All right, so we're back up to temperature on the solution. Gonna rinse my barrel here, and I got plugs in the breech end and in the muzzle end. So that way it doesn't phosphate the bore. Now let's drop it on in. And I'll continue to stir the solution so none of the sludge builds up on the barrel and affect the coating. Now I think one of the issues that I'm experiencing here is my burner setup, and that's the burner is too close to my diffuser plate, and my diffuser plate's only 1/4 of an inch. It's the only thing that I had that was big enough. Really, they suggest 3/8 of an inch, but I'm making it work for right now. That's really what most of us are going to do anyway, is just make it work. But I may, if I'm going to continue doing this, need to make a little bit better of a burner setup, something that's not so close to the flames to create hot spots. Because I can feel on the bottom of my stainless steel pan here where the phosphate solution is possibly burning a little bit, and I can't imagine that that's good for it. But again, failure is the fastest way to learn how to do something, or at least the lessons will sink in a little bit better. Rinse this off. And then straight over. Well, as you can see, I got everything cooling off. I'm getting a lot of that floaties that you were seeing earlier has settled to the bottom. I'm really wondering if when I seasoned the solution the other day that I did not let it go long enough, and I was basically paying for it with all the floaties during this 870 project. But the only thing that's going to tell me if that is the case is when I parkerize something else with this solution. So I'm going to have to, once this all cools down, I'll siphon it off and remove all the sludge, which is a whole nother process in and of itself, believe me. Should we go look to see how everything turned out? All right, so let's go ahead and look at the receiver here. Kind of wipe it down a little bit so you can get an idea of what it looks like. Came out really nice. I can't wait to see how this looks when it fully sets up. I'll be honest, I was pretty worried about this. Let's look at the barrel really quick. Now, one thing that I noticed was that this guy right here sure didn't take anything. I mean, it's a tad darker, but it's basically just looks kind of oxidized. But the barrel itself looks pretty good as far as I can tell. The front sight is the same material as that band right there. Well, that's okay, it's going to look kind of matted. I'm not going to really use it. And oh yeah, look at that. So this will have kind of like a two-tone that I'll have to keep oiled. It's kind of weird. I wonder what kind of metal that is. If it's kind of like almost like a stainless maybe? I don't know. I don't see why, but kind of curious. If you know, leave a comment. But there's the barrel and the receiver for the 870 project. Man, that finish looks good. Well guys, appreciate you watching. I'll see you on part 3.